Welcome to the channel. Here's a lamp holder which is really corroded. I'm just doing a short video of example how I treat the individual components. So I need to definitely get it out and clean it out somehow. Screw is relatively okay. The rest of it isn't. Now the challenge is, especially with this one, getting it. Oh, it's really badly corroded. Okay, so this one has soldiers in it, so I think I need to desolder it. Okay, removing the bulb, it's here. Can I see anything? It's actually Osram 6.5 volts, 3 amps, made in England. That's old. It actually looks like it could still work. Okay, this is tricky with the camera there. Let's see how it will work out. Oh, I will burn my fingers. This one is one of the worst. Alright, there it is. So now I got this loose. It's riveted here, quite corroded. You can't really separate it other than to treat the whole thing. Put that one with its screw in there. There's a stand here which looks okay. I think that doesn't need any kind of treatment. So now I have all the parts inside the glass jar, and what I will do is I will basically pour it full of vinegar. And now it's all covered in vinegar. I just seal the jar. Shake it a bit around to ensure that liquid goes everywhere. And wait. I usually let it sit sometimes only a few hours, sometimes overnight. And after that, I will most likely either wipe it clean, sometimes that's all what's needed, and sometimes what is needed is wire brushing with a brass brush, for example. Now I will also do this one here, cleaned out. So do some cleanup of this one here. So now all the parts that have a lot of rust in them have been in a can in the vinegar for all night. Next I will go and rinse them very thoroughly and clean them in the water. I basically rinse them inside the bowl with water. Next I'll just put them on this fabric to dry. Okay, there's some water coming there, but as long as everything is caught. Yeah, you can see quite a lot of dirt already left, went with the water, quite a lot is dropping here. So the rust appears to be on the surface. Yeah, now I'll just let them spread them around a bit here and let them all dry. So, what next to do with this is just to brush them clean with this wire brush. Yeah, filming this and doing it is actually quite difficult. You just brush off the rust that's kind of become loose with the vinegar. I don't know if you can see, but there's kind of pitting here, which is kind of what happens when you get rid of the rust, the oxidation, corrosion. You need to remember to remove it from all possible corners. Again, I'm using brass as it's relatively soft, so it removes the corrosion of the rust but doesn't scratch the metal too badly. At least it doesn't mean much because it's already pitted because of the corrosion gone. You should really try to get all the rust away, not to leave anything in place. That's quite important. Yeah. The metal itself is kind of intact. It's not, often rust doesn't damage things. No, I mean say often, but it doesn't really damage things beyond repair or beyond usability. It's just often a visual thing. That under quite horribly rusty parts like this one, you can find quite okay metal, which will last a very long time. And sometimes you find writing, text and so on. Interesting enough, in this one, I don't know if you can see, but between the lamp holder and the metal, there's, I believe, cork insulators between the holder and all the different parts. The cork seems to be quite intact. I didn't see it because it was covered in rust. Yeah, you know, it's visible. It's quite nice. It's in fine condition. So they used this cork as an insulator for this. And once with a wire brush I can actually see the real color of the cork coming out from underneath the rust. But yeah, this turned out to be quite nice. Let's see the other parts. Plenty of screws, which are really horrible. With the screws, it's better to use some pliers instead of getting the pieces of brass stuck into your skin. You will see the condition of each screw. Looks nice. It might seem tedious to go through every screw like this, but in the end, I think it's worth it, because they're still a part of the engineering, they're metal. In today's world of recycling, all of this is important. Every single piece of metal requires a lot of energy and work. So reuse them, repair them. That's a favor for the world. Sometimes screws can get stuck just because there's dirt in them. If the manufacturing tolerances are tight enough and there's any bit of corrosion there, just small flake, it will get stuck, it can break the screw. So keeping them clean is important. Here's one good example. Now I need to take care of the rest in the pile. Well, I won't bore you with the rest. I will show you another one which I will do here. Is this washers. Wash it so small, so I'm just putting it with the tweezers against the table and then getting up, turning it around a bit, putting it against the table again and brushing this side clean, turning it around and brushing it and turning it around and pinching it against the table and brushing it. Oops, sorry. And my fingers are not very good today. And you have relatively clean washer, though these washers have suffered so much. I tried to find similar size washers. I think this is imperial sizes. This is the closest I could find from shop in metric. So there's quite a difference. I think I will replace some of these with the modern ones, hopefully. The big problem when I thought there was corrosion there, here and there, and sometimes there was no obvious reason why there was corrosion. It was because of these washers. So almost every single one of these washers has corrosion in them, and it has just spread from it around. And actually very few other places have corroded. It's just if somewhere was 3 washers like this, they had all rusted away and just spread the rust everywhere until you clean up and you notice there's nothing left. You don't know what it was. In this case, I'm glad to say majority of the corrosion in this device is due to these small washers. I'm struggling in locations where it could be used as a means of ensuring galvanic contact between points. Okay, if there's any radio designers who know about the radio chassis and this kind of design, do you often use metal washers underneath screws to ensure galvanic contact? Because this is a one washer which kind of grips into the metal, ensure there's a contact. So do you use this? And is there a reason why you choose specific metal so it's less noble that it doesn't, that instead the washer starts to corrode instead of the metal which it's binding together? Is there possibly a reason for that? And if there is any kind of electrical flows going in the metal parts, is that possibly a reason why these corroded so fast and so completely? Now all of these parts are cleaned. For some of the metal surfaces, if you're sure there's nothing can go wrong, like acetone is a good one. You just take cotton buds, dip them into acetone or some paper or something, wipe the surface. But the issue is, of course, that acetone is highly flammable, don't breathe it, and so on. So you need to be very careful when dealing with it. Despite using the wire brush for cleaning this, it does leave sometimes dirty residue if something has caught up on it. So you better clean them with acetone just in case. Acetone is a good cleaner for many metal parts. Plastics, none really. Doesn't work much well on other than metal. It's way too aggressive. Try again, but don't. Acetone is quite dangerous in breathing, as many of these kind of chemicals. So don't use this unless you know exactly what you're doing. And I have ventilation. You can't hear it, but I have ventilation going on here, so the fumes will go away. And always remember, between taking acetone, cork it. Otherwise you will inadvertently start breathing a lot of the fumes. Of course, if you use acetone, it will remove paint and everything, but for bare metal surfaces, it's quite good. The other part that was corroded quite a lot, in addition to the washers, which was some of them very gone, was this lamp holder. I have no idea why, because it wasn't just the washer material that had rusted away, but the metal is quite pitted. So I think I need to do something about this. I know that it's attached through here approximately with a screw, so it needs to have obviously a metal-to-metal contact. At least I think so. But I had in my mind, I could try different things, but I had a feeling I will try to paint some of these pitted surfaces and maybe then rub out a bit small space for the screw to get galvanic contact. Yeah, I think this is about ready, so now I'll just paint it. So this one is now ready. It's painted, dried, and now I need to scratch it a bit in order to remove some of the paint from these parts, because for whatever reason galvanic contact seems to be important for the designers. Like these, the shims which I showed you, they're corroded, and this one was completely corroded and pitted. Now it's at least protected, but for achieving the galvanic contact to this attachment point here, I need to scratch the paint a bit out. So now this part is scratched out, so I can ensure that there's a contact there. Okay, now it's time to insert the leaded clean. There you are. So now it's all about restoration rather than getting functionality back together. I think next videos that will come will be about individual components, shorter videos, individual components like this capacitor, everything, measuring them, inspecting them, repairing and replacing them one by one. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.